Making patterned inlay without a bandsaw or a drum sander is actually a simple, straightforward process. The piece of wood I chose to begin this process is Japanese cedar. I picked it because it's soft and it takes far less cleanup for an excellent finish. The quarter sawn straight grain will make up the chevron pattern as well as the rope pattern. Using a combination blade, a quick makeshift sled, and a 45-degree cutoff as a stop block, we make our cuts at 3 different sizes. Well, I can't say we, I do. Small defects such as blade swirls or marks disappear with glue up and clamps because of how soft the wood is. If you must do a cleanup, tape 80 grit and 120 grit sandpaper to a flat surface. Use even pressure and don't go so far that you're changing the size. A few passes ought to do it. I like to make inlay blocks at 1.5 inches, so I cut 2 to 3 pieces from each species at 1 9/16 inches. Different thicknesses of your boards don't matter at all. As long as you are S3S, which is having both faces flat and parallel and one side flat and square to run against your fence, then you're good to go. 24 to 36 inch is the general length that we shoot for. And once you're satisfied with your variety of colors and grain patterns, we glue up the 1 9/16 strips from each species into 1 9/16 blanks. This is what we're going to derive our thin stock from. Joint them, plane them, do whatever you do to square your lumber. This is why we have an extra 1/16 of an inch. What's important in this process is one flat 1.5 inch face that gets run along the fence and 2 parallel sides. That's what's going to slide on top of the table saw. Now, for repeatable thin slices, you will need a positive stop. So you could continually adjust the fence closer as your blank shrinks with each cut. This is a simple device I made from 3 pieces of scrap wood. One is for the miter slot, the second is to hold a bolt, and the third, you router out a slot, which is how you adjust for your depth of cut, i.e. your thickness. It sits in the miter slot. You adjust it right against the teeth of the saw blade, insert your block, and snug up your fence and make your cut. You don't have to remove it once the fence is set, but I do. I just don't like having in my way while cutting. Using a good combination blade, not a rip blade, and keep the feed rate constant as best as you could. This will minimize burn or defects. I also tape a thin piece of hardwood as a deflection instead of a riving knife. If you need to clean up your thin stock, use painter's tape and some CA glue, not two-sided tape. It could break the wood, it's so strong. I will use 3 strips on a piece of plywood and do about 12 at the same thickness at the same time. This prevents pillowing of the edges and being able to use a power sander. You don't want to block sand for a month or 2. Now the fun begins. Mix and match colors and patterns into your heart's content, or until you have something that you like. For the glue up, cover both sides, not just one. You'll thank me later. This is mahogany on the outside, yellow heart stripes, and Japanese cedar to form up the chevron. Clamp them up and then add some more clamps. And if you are even pondering that it can use one more, add 3 or 4. Just be careful about alignment if you're running chevrons. Let it set up clamp for about 24 hours. Isn't that really cool? Come on. it looks better in person too. But anyways, that's it partially cleaned up. Now, shaving off pieces is the same process as the thin stock, except I use a crosscut blade for the finest finish, and then it's usable right off the table saw. If you want to take your inlays to the next level, we will have one more in this series, though I will refer to this video for some of the process so it's not getting repeated over and over. You're welcome. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share, comment, notifications. I'm Chris with Progressive Ideas in Wood, signing out, and I'll see you on the next one.